You're listening to The Purple Mystic, a podcast for the modern witch, with your host, Natalie Sedgwick. All right, everyone, welcome back to The Purple Mystic. I am your host, Natalie. Today, I'm talking to myself. That's right. I've been trying to get a few other people on the podcast. I haven't been able to put out a podcast. The past few weekends have been very busy, and the past few weeks have been very, very busy with work, which is a good thing. We're starting to pick back up a little bit, so there you go. However, the problem is, hasn't left me a whole lot of time for recording. I've got a few guests lined up, but we're having scheduling issues, all of us. So I'm going to have a couple of new shows coming up this next week. I'm hoping to have Timothy Roderick, author and witch extraordinaire, on the podcast. And I'm also looking to have a surprise musical guest that I think you guys will really enjoy. And then I have another guest that I think some of you may know, but many of you may not be familiar with these people. And I'm super stoked and excited to bring them on to the Purple Mystic because I want to give them as much exposure as possible. But you're going to have to tune in to find out who that's going to be. So today I thought I would just take a little bit of time to talk about readings and energy. When you are a practitioner and you do professional readings, I have to tell you, I did a reading this morning, and it wasn't a particularly long reading. I mean, we talked a little bit beyond the reading. I always do a little bit anyway. We went a little longer than I normally would. But I'll tell you, at the end of that reading, I was shaking. I was starving. I wolfed down 2 bowls of some stir fry kind of thing that my husband made for dinner last night and a glass of milk, and was still like, nah. So I want to talk a little bit about preparing yourself when doing a reading or any kind of energy work for others, because I think that sometimes we underestimate the amount of energy that it requires for us to put forth in order to do that. And I want to talk a little bit about that exchange itself. It is indeed an exchange of energy. And for those of you out there that say, oh, if you have a gift, you should share it. You shouldn't charge for what you do. I highly disagree. You want to have an even and equal exchange of energy in any interaction that you have with another person. When someone comes to seek spiritual guidance from you and they are asking you to tap into that outer level, that higher level of consciousness, to communicate with spirit on their behalf, you are in effect putting your energy out there and allowing both spirit and that person to utilize your energy. And by all means, you should charge for that. It's your time, for number one, and time is valuable. Once it's gone, you can't get it back. So of course you deserve some sort of monetary exchange for that. If you choose not to charge for your services, that's entirely on you. But, and I have done free readings. I do readings for free on occasion. Usually it's at Samhain when I use it as a sacrifice towards the goddess during that time. But you are certainly entitled to have any kind of exchange in and of itself that is suitable to you. So I say, if you're not going to accept money, but you want to exchange readings, that's certainly okay. If you want to exchange it for some sort of gift you consider of value, I think that's okay. I just think that when you put forth your energy like that, you certainly 100% are totally entitled to have something back for that energy in exchange. So moving forward, talking about what happens when it's utilizing your energy. Well, what I experienced is exactly what I described to you a few minutes ago. I was kind of shaky. I felt like my blood sugar level had dropped. I needed to eat something. I needed to get some nourishment in there. And I'm a little frustrated with the reading today. The reading itself was good. It wasn't that. It was my preparation for the reading, because I really honestly thought that my husband was going to be out of the house. He had told me he was going to have to be out of the house by 8 o'clock. So I expected to have time to prepare, because typically when I'm going to do readings, especially if I'm going to be doing multiple readings in one day, I like to have time to meditate a little more deeply than just my daily meditations, And I like to have incense burning. I like to communicate with the goddess and with the god and to thank them for their participation in the reading, because I really do believe that my guidance comes from the Lord and Lady, as well as any other guides that they may send my way. And then I will select the deck that I feel is pertinent to that person. If they have ordered a specific type of reading, then I will, kind of get myself into that mindset as far as what the positions of the cards are to mean. Today was particularly kind of taxing for me because the reading was a customized reading. So when I do a customized reading for a client, I will create a spread that is unique to that person. The cards that I choose, as well as the suits that I choose, if I'm not going to use the whole deck. I did not use the whole deck in this reading today. This reading was a specialized reading for finances and relationship combined. So I chose only the suits of pentacles, the suit of cups, and the major arcana cards, because major arcana I always include in those types of spreads because they are messages direct from spirit. So I created a unique reading format that was strictly for this client. And when you do that, that takes a lot of brain power in terms of your thinking, your processing. You're already connecting to that spiritual level when you're developing that, and it's already starting to draw from your energy. I mean, I could feel it drawing from me already at the beginning of the week when we talked about this and we set up the time for today. So when my husband didn't get out the door like I expected him to, I did not have the time to physically prepare myself. I probably would have had something like orange juice or something like that to keep that blood sugar level up, and I would have meditated a little differently on something different and a little deeper than I did this morning. I do feel it's very important to prepare yourself in that way. Now, I can do readings. I mean, I can just pull cards and I can do a reading on the spot. That doesn't bother me, but I like to really get into the reading and feel connected. And so for that, I like to prepare. And not everybody's like that. Some people are just like, bring it on. Let's pull some cards and let's do it. And I can do that type of reading, and on occasion I will. But I really prefer to set up something that enhances my connection to the person, to spirit, and to the Lord and Lady. And I think that when you do that, it sends the message to your querent that you are taking time with their reading, that there isn't just, I'm just going to pull some cards and tell you what I think I see, that I'm actually connected, that what I'm hearing is what needs to be heard or stated, and that I have taken the time to prepare myself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Today, I was just sapped. I mean, I could have taken a nap after that and it would have been great, but I had a couple of clients for my speech therapy practice that I had to do by teletherapy, and I was running late for those because I had to gather myself. So I want to just say that I think it's very important that you take time for yourself before, during, and after doing a reading. Now, another topic that I wanted to bring up with this talk is that there's a lot of debate in the tarot community about using, well, first off, I'm just going to put this out there, about using cards that are counterfeited. And how do you know whether or not you have a counterfeit deck or it's a legit deck? Say you ordered something from Amazon and you get it and you're like, oh, I don't know, something about this doesn't feel right. I will tell you that this is my view and this is my opinion. I feel it's the right one, but I'm entitled to my opinion and other people may disagree. When an artist and a writer create a tarot deck, they are putting their time, their energy, and their talents into that deck. When you get a deck from a company like Wish that is well known for taking decks and quote unquote reprinting them. Reprinting is code term for we took it, we printed it, we're printing it and selling it, and it's cheap copy, and the artist and the writer are getting nothing for this deck. That's what that is. It's not a reprint. A reprint is when the publisher of a deck says, we're going to print this again. And they reprint it and they make it available for sale once again. Counterfeiting is theft. period, in my book. There's no way around it. If you take someone's work and you copy it and you sell it and you're getting a profit from it and they are getting nothing, and you are making, especially if it's a cheap copy reproduction of something that's not the quality the artist put out, then shame on you and on whoever you got it from, is all I'm going to say. I actually made the mistake once of getting a deck from Wish because I was unaware of the counterfeit operations going on. And as soon as I got that deck in my hands, I could tell you it was fake. First of all, there was not a book with it. That's one clear sign that your deck is fake, unless the author and or artist send it by a PDF file, such as I know that Benabel Huen will do that. She'll send things through PDF files. Ciro Marchetti, he puts things out in a PDF. He makes it available to you once you make a purchase. And so the deck itself does not come with a book, but you have the PDF file. That's different. And that is still copyrighted material. I'm talking about you buy a deck and nothing comes with it. There's no, here's where you go to download the book and here's this. And so one of the concerns was that some of these authors were being approached by people who were asking for the books for these counterfeit decks. The other way is to tell if the size is not right. Tarot cards, many of you know, are not typically a playing card size. They're usually a little bit larger than a playing card. Now, some decks, I know like Roxy Sim, her decks are available in a playing card size, but you order them directly from her website, so you know you're getting it from her. And I personally kind of like that because my hands are small and it's easy for me to shuffle those. But regular tarot cards are bigger than playing card sizes. So if it's not quite a bit larger than a normal playing card, chances are it's probably a counterfeit unless you ordered it directly from the artist, as previously stated. And I think that when you use a counterfeit deck in a reading, it says something about you as a reader in terms of your ethics. And there's a whole lot of debate and blah, blah, blah about the ethics of tarot reading. And my husband thinks it's unethical to do tarot reading at all because he thinks it's bunk and bullshit. So I don't believe that myself. I know for a fact that I connect. I know for a fact that I'm able to understand and perceive things that have not been revealed to me previously. When I do readings for a client, I like to do what I call clean intuitive readings. In other words, I like to know as little about the situation surrounding the querent's question. I like to know as little about the querent, honestly. So I much prefer to read for people I don't know than I do to read for people that I know, because I'm always afraid that what I'm seeing is being influenced by what I know about the person. Now, I'm getting better about just giving what I see and not making any preconceived assumptions, but it is normal to have preconceived notions. You know what the person wants to hear, right? So it's very easy to be influenced by that. So I actually prefer to read for people that I do not know. Now, I don't mind them giving me feedback during the reading. I actually kind of prefer if they give it to me after the reading. Once the reading's completed, then they can tell me, wow, you really hit this, and this. And, you told me exactly what I've known, but didn't want to admit. I much prefer that because I think that makes me a better reader. I know where the hits and misses are. There's far more hits than misses, by the way. I don't think I've ever had somebody say, man, you were totally way off base. So, I like them to focus on their question, and then I will draw the cards as I need to. And I will also choose the deck based on the energy I get from the person. So I feel that when you are giving an honest reading in that manner, if you are using a deck that's counterfeit, some of that energy is going to get into your reading, and it could muck up your perceptions, I guess is the best way to phrase that. I'm not sure if I'm making any sense. Sometimes it sounds great in the head, and then when it comes out of the mouth, it doesn't sound so great. But I really do believe that it says something for you. And if I was getting a reading from someone and I could see that the deck they were using was counterfeit, because you can tell from the artwork too, by the way, it looks copied. It lacks the vibrancy and the brilliance of an actual deck that's been printed. So It's icky. It just, to me, it gives me an icky feel. Now, the deck that I got, I'm sure some of you are out there wondering, what did you do with the deck that you bought? I'll tell you what I'm doing with the deck that I bought. Nothing. It is sitting on a shelf. I have considered using it in spellcraft because I don't mind burning the cards because they're not the actual cards. But again, that same sort of nagging doubt about the use of the cards at all is sort of sitting there. So I don't want the negativity of that energy mucking up my spellcraft unless I was going to be doing a spell specifically against counterfeiting of some sort, which I might end up doing. This is a very alarming trend. I know I did talk about this in my very first episode about people copying other people's work or utilizing people's names that are not even in the craft. Well, people that are not even in the craft utilizing familiar names, people who are well-known practitioners, and using, kind of capitalizing on that to sell books. But I'm starting to even see where books are getting pirated. My book was pirated. I noticed it on an illegitimate website and I made a complaint about it immediately. I have noticed that my book is being advertised on sites like Barnes and Nobles, but I'm not getting any royalties. So I'm not sure if the book is actually selling, but when I saw it on that counterfeit site, it was completely illegitimate and I knew it immediately and I reported it immediately. But I am seeing people who are actually physically copying the cover art even for these books and putting their name on it and selling it. I think one was even doing it as an audio book and it was exactly the cover. So the author was made knowledgeable of this and stepped in. And this is a very alarming trend for me because I think that this puts out there an energy of illegitimacy and dishonesty within the community. And I think that that is a deadly virus. It's as deadly as COVID-19, folks, probably more so. So really take your time to examine the cards and to examine where the cards are coming from. Make sure you're actually getting it from a legitimate publisher of tarot like US Game Systems or directly from the artist's website. That would be my best recommendation for you there. Now, again, going into the idea of readings and confidence, I am hearing from a lot of people who are somewhat new to tarot reading. Maybe they've been doing it for years for themselves and a few friends, but they don't want to charge for it. I'll go back to my statement a few minutes ago about valuing your energy and your time. If you are confident in your tarot reads and you want to move forth as a professional reader, absolutely, I think you should do so. I will tell you, building a tarot business is not always easy because especially if you're like me and you have to have a quote-unquote day job in order to pay bills, and you do or do not have the support of your spouse, makes a huge difference because finding the time to eke out to do a reading while still balancing your regular work in order to pay your bills is a little sketchy. But it can be done, and it should be done if that's where your passion lies. Because I do believe that Spirit provides those who are passionate about it with the guidance that they need in order to make that happen. And I want to give a shout out to my sister Corey Ann, who threw that client my way. I really do appreciate that. Any kind of work you can get out there is truly, truly, truly appreciated. So, the number one most important factor, I think, with any kind of spellcraft, with any kind of tarot reading, any kind of even like soul realignment working, Akashic record readings, I think meditation is the absolute key for that. And I think it's a crucial step to providing accurate reads, is to take even just a minute or two of closing your eyes and disconnecting from the physical plane and allowing yourself to enter that astral, to clear your astral field and open yourself for the interpretation from Spirit that's going to come through. Now, I tend to be a little clairaudient when doing my readings. I or clairsentient. Sometimes I hear things, which is clairaudience. Sometimes I'm more clairsentient. Clairsentient, where you just sort of know things. It's like a voice, not my own, in my head says, this is what this is. And so that is what comes out of my mouth when I interpret the card. And of course, if you're new to tarot, it can be a little intimidating on trying to learn the meanings of the cards and then looking at how those cards relate to the other cards. And, I'm always a little nervous before I do a reading. Is this going to be an accurate read? Am I going to be good at this? But you have got to snag those little doubts and get them out of your mind. Trust that Spirit is going to guide you, and you will have an excellent reading that will be accurate, but it is going to sap you. So make sure that you've got something close by. I suggest chocolate, or like I said, a little bit of juice, something to kind of boost you a little bit, to kind of keep your energy level high and to keep you going. Not that I think sugar is always the answer. Yes, it is. But definitely something to kind of ease you once that energy has been depleted. Okay, I have no idea where I was going to go with that thought. So again, meditation is a crucial key to preparation, I feel. At least for me it is, in being able to get myself into the right frame of mind. Now, I used to be concerned that when I was feeling a lot of emotional turmoil, or I was feeling emotionally kerflummoxed about anything going on, that I shouldn't be doing readings, that I couldn't get a clear enough mind. And my good friend Joy Koff and my other good friend Sheena Metal, they both were like, no, that's the time to be doing the readings, because the readings will help you reconnect. You need to be sitting back and doing some of this work and not giving it up, because then you're just separating yourself further. And I have to say that was probably one of the best pieces of advice I got as a reader. I think they were square on the head, because I've noticed that when I'm really, really, really not in a good place emotionally, reading for someone else gets me right back in line. It grounds me, because grounding, which is where the meditation comes in, is absolutely crucial to accurate tarot readings, in my opinion. So, it was a very good piece of advice. So do not allow what's going on in your own life to stop you from disconnecting from that in order to reconnect for someone else, because it may be through the energy of that turmoil that you're able to provide the kind of advice needed, because again, it's going to amp up your energy, isn't it? Your energy is at an all-time high. You might feel like you're fatigued, but spiritually you're really actually very amped up, and I think that's why Joy and Sheena recommended that. So very, very, very sound advice, and I think that you would benefit from heeding that advice as well. Now, the next step is for me to give some sort of grounding to the reading, so I will usually have crystals available. I like to use quartz crystal, because quartz crystal and selenite are both very good for clearing and giving you clear vision, clear thought. So I may hold on to a piece of that. I will certainly have it within the area of my reading. I define my area of reading by my reading cloths, my altar cloths. I actually have some tarot material that I made reading cloths for Patty Negri and for myself and for a couple of my friends last year in tarot bags. And I really like the size cloth that I used. It's a good size. So I can put my crystals there. I can put my incense there. I can make like a grid or a border and then put the reading in the middle of that. And I really feel that having that defined space and then allowing yourself to set up a crystal grid only amps your reading and amps your psychic ability. So that is definitely something I recommend. Now, it's not a requirement, and a lot of people don't do that. They may have a cloth, but they don't use it to define their space. It's almost like casting a circle, right? When I lay out my tarot cloth, although it's rectangular, that's my circle. That's my working space, right? So it doesn't matter where I am. Once that cloth is out and the crystal grid is laid, it is now a sacred space. I like to have incense, not only for cleansing, but I use the incense also as an offering of thanks to divine spirits for providing their guidance as well. And it's my way of inviting them into the reading. So It also clears your space, and I can use the smoke to clear the cards between readings, because sometimes I do readings for groups of people. So let's get into talking about that. Tarot reading is an entertainment business. For some people, they don't like doing tarot reads for groups, like at parties, for Halloween parties or birthday parties or things like that. And I understand their perspectives. The discussions that I have been involved in have been that when you do tarot reading as entertainment, you're somewhat detracting from the actual spiritual value of a tarot read. And I can understand that perspective. I can see why some people would feel that way. I kind of disagree. And the reason that I disagree is that when people enter a tarot reading for entertainment basis, they didn't hire you just for entertainment. They hired you because they have an underlying small belief in the back of their mind in what you do. And they think it's quote unquote fun, which tarot reading should be fun, and getting a reading should be, on the whole, a pleasant experience for your querent, even if what your message isn't, what they want to hear. I don't want to say positive or negative. Sometimes we are told things that the person does not want to hear. That might constitute quote unquote bad news, right? I do not ever sugarcoat what I am told. I will tell them point blank, this card is not something I like to see in a reading because generally it's associated with this. In terms of your reading, I agree or disagree with that. Because this, and this, it could mean this, or this that's going on in your life right now. So, I want my querent, to walk away with a sense of satisfaction with the reading, even if what they heard isn't good news, so to speak. So when someone hires you on an entertainment level, you want them to enjoy the reading. They're there to enjoy your services, but they also have somewhat of a belief in it. If it's something that goes against their beliefs, they're going to stay away and not participate. And I have seen that at parties where someone has hired me to do readings for their guests or whatever, and there may be one or two people that choose not to participate. Either they're nervous about it or they just don't believe it. But the ones that come to you for advice, they're coming to you because they really do want advice, and the question they have has really been something that's been on their mind. So I look at it in the perspective of, maybe you were brought to that person for a reason, right? You were brought to that person at that point in time because that is where you're meant to be at that point in time, and your message is going to be imparted to that person as it should be. And most of in fact, all of the feedback I've had from parties has been good. I'm not opposed to tarot as an quote unquote entertainment for parties. And in fact, if you want a legitimate tarot business, sometimes that's how you have to market it, because there are certain companies such as, I understand Etsy kind of put a kibosh on tarot reading sales. Like, they don't allow tarot in their thing now. Some people may still be operating with Etsy doing tarot reads. I still see them advertised on there, but I have had friends that had their shops shut down because it was not considered quote unquote legitimate by Etsy standards. I understand now that Stripe, the credit processing company or the payment processing company, is deactivating accounts for people who do tarot reads, which I think in a way should be considered religious discrimination, because for many of us, we don't hold quote unquote traditional religious values, in terms of we are not participants in an Abrahamic religion such as Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. And we are spiritualists. We are pagans. We are people who connect to the spirits of earth. And we see tarot as a very legitimate system for gaining insight. And often we're not comfortable reading for ourselves, so we seek out the advice of others, and we want to give them that equal and even value exchange of their energy by paying them to do it. And so I really don't think that they should have a right to say you can or cannot. However, at the same time, this is a free market system, and these companies are private companies. So they have absolutely every right to deny our ability to take payment for those services. So I'm a little on the fence about that. I don't like it. I think it's a little unfair, and I think it's kind of stupid on their part because they're turning down revenue because they get a fee every time you get a service. I have heard that the other reason that these companies look at tarot as not a company they want to support or a practice they want to support is that they see it as a high risk for chargebacks. In other words, you may have people that come back and say, I want my money back. Now, I offer a money back guarantee on all of my services because I'm ultimately out here to help people. And if you don't feel that my services have helped you, then by all means, I will give you back your money, every penny. I don't want an exchange. Now, in some ways, that's a little unfair to me, isn't it? Because I did expend my energy for the reading. But again, I'm there to help people on a spiritual level, and I don't want to do anything that might make me look like I'm there just to take people's money. So I will offer a money back guarantee for services. However, as the reader, I also reserve the right to refuse to read for people. So if I get someone that wants a reading and then they want a follow-up reading and then they want their money back because they're not happy with what they've heard, and every time I do a reading for them, they demand a refund, I'm not going to read for that person anymore. If you are not satisfied with my services, don't come seek them again. So, if someone requests a refund for a service, I'm happy to give them their money back, but I will not read for them again. And that is a really good way for me to protect myself as a reader. Now, if they want to buy my books and they want to take my classes, by all means, they are welcome to do so. I do not offer refunds on my classes once the course materials have been sent to people because I don't want someone just trying to get the materials and then saying, thanks, I don't need the class, here's the money. No. I put my time into that class. If you pay for it, you're keeping it. Now, beyond the 24 hours, once you receive those materials, you don't get your money back. And that's how it's going to be because that's my time and my energy, and I'm going to stick by that. And again, you have the right to not enroll in another one of my classes. Absolutely. So you have to be careful, but you do have to be consumer minded because it is a business and you want to make sure that you are taking care of your clients. But again, you don't want to put yourself out there to be used either. And there are people who will do that. So you need to have boundaries, professional boundaries. And I do feel that those policies and procedures should be very clearly outlined on your website or in your policies that you provide to people when you provide them any kind of spiritual service, whether it's Reiki, whether it's Akashic record reading, whether it's tarot reads, whether it's crystal scries or anything of that nature. Now, personally, I am using a couple of different venues for accepting payment. I used to take Stripe, but I thought that I still was, but I found out recently that's actually not the processing company I'm using anymore. I have no problem with stating that I use Wix as my website platform. I started out with a free website, but I upgraded and I pay a monthly fee for my website, and it's reasonable and I can afford it and keep it going. So I feel that I was able to create a site that's easy to navigate. It's friendly, and I do think that that's also very important for building a strong tarot business. Is everybody wants to research these days, right? We want to know about the people that we are giving our money to and that we're interacting with. So what I will state is that I think it's very important to have a good website. It not only allows you to have a footprint worldwide, in other words, anyone can come to you for services from anywhere in the world, but it also allows people to see your face and to get a feel for the kind of person and reader that you are, because not everybody likes everybody else. And it's important to know that not everybody is going to like you as a reader. That's why I like to take a few minutes before I do a reading and explain my reading style to my querent so that they understand this is how I'm setting things up, this is why I do this is why I do that, and make sure that my energy matches. And that gives them also an out, a fail-safe, where they can go, I'm just not feeling this already. I think I've changed my mind. And I have no problem with doing that because I want to make sure that the person is comfortable with me. And by approaching it from that method and explaining my methodology for reading, it also helps me to build a rapport with the querent that does not require me to know any additional background information about their question or their query. So I think that it's very important to have a virtual presence there, whether you choose to do readings online. My reading today was by Zoom, and I had never done a reading by Zoom before. I've always either done face-to-face or by YouTube or email. So this was very exciting for me, and I really enjoyed the format. So that might be something to look at, but I definitely think that having a virtual presence is very key to building your heart-centered business. And I think that it's important to have on there not only, a clear description of the services that you provide, but it needs to have clear instructions for how to book your time. And I think that it needs to also have, like I said, a policy statement on what is your policy. If you choose not to give refunds, that's entirely up to you. I think that if you are not going to offer refunds, you need to make that very clear in the description of your service so that the person can't come back and say, I didn't know I couldn't get my money back. What do you mean I can't get my money back? I demand my money back. And believe me, if they're going through PayPal, they're going to get their money back. So I find that it's always best just to have that policy out there and say, we will offer, but to refuse service to that same person again. You do get a few screwballs that keep trying that one. But I do feel that it's very, very important to have that outlined very clearly on your website. You also want to make sure that they're aware of any training that you have had. If you have never been formally trained in tarot, but it's something you grew up with, state that. Be open and honest about your experiences. If you took a break for many years from tarot, state that. I was reading, for however long I read, then I took a hiatus due to family and business and other things, but I have made a return, and it's like meeting up with an old friend. People are very open to that. If you are honest, people will appreciate it, and they're going to feel that in your readings, and that's going to come through in your readings. If you're hiding something from your querent, believe me, they're going to know it in the way that you read. So make sure that you are being very open about your experiences in your training. If you have training that's outside of tarot, but it's spiritually related, include that. They like to know what your life experiences have been. Because like it or not, the more life experience you've had, I think the wiser a reader you are. Because Spirit has more to share with you. Not to say that if you're young and inexperienced, you can't be an excellent reader. You can be. Again, it's that connection with Spirit. But when you have some maturity, I think the way you present the reading to your your querents is a little bit different. So I think that it's a little bit more legitimate, so to speak. Well, not legitimate, but a little more confident. You come across as a more confident reader. And that's something else that I want to get into about being a tarot reader. I will tell you right now, be confident. If you are not confident in your reading skills, believe you me, your querent is going to know it. And it's going to make them very skeptical about the outcome of your reading and its accuracy. Even if everything you're telling them is on point, if you seem nervous and you're kind of going, I don't know, I kind of think it might mean this, but you know what, it could also mean this, and I don't really know, they're going to know. They're going to be like, well, then why are you reading for me? I mean, what's the point? I could have pulled the cards myself and took a look, so be confident. I am being told that the message that goes with this card is this. There are other meanings to this card. It could include this or this, which may or may not be impacting your reading, but my spirit guides are telling me this is what it is. And you put that out there in that way. You need to be confident in your own skill. If you're not confident as a reader, please do not do it. Wait until you're confident. Practice a little bit more, offer free readings, get more comfortable with your own reading style and with the various different spreads and what have you, even creating your own spreads. But for the love of all that is holy, do not put yourself in front of a reader, and don't let your nervousness, I'm always a little bit nervous. Like I stated earlier, I'm always a little bit nervous before a reading. because I want the client to be satisfied with the reading. It's not that I doubt my own skill. So never doubt your own skill. If you doubt your own skill, you shouldn't be doing it. So just putting that out there for you folks. Be confident in your reading skills. If you are not confident in your reading skills, by all means, take a few classes. I know that Benabel Wen offers a lot of really great courses on tarot. She has some videos on it on her YouTube channel. She is one of those people that is extraordinarily knowledgeable, very well educated, and traveled. She makes me feel stupid. I consider myself a relatively intelligent individual, but when I listen to Benabel Wen talk, my intelligence shrinks. I feel it. I feel the IQ points drumming down. But she makes tarot reading very fun and very easy. There are also other people who offer tarot classes. I believe Arwen Lynch. I think she offers some classes. I will be offering tarot reading classes shortly. I'm trying to get the time together in between everything else to put together a well-built class on tarot reading. I'm trying to find a better format. I've been using a platform online, and although it seemed really good at first, I'm finding that there's much to be desired that I really don't like about it. So I'm looking for a different platform or format on which to offer the classes. And I'm thinking that I might even do like live classes and offer some sort of Zoom class where I just advertise it and invoice it. We enroll in the class. When you enroll, I email you the material and we go from there. So I will be offering courses on tarot. I will be offering courses on certain types of magic. I don't want to go too much into that yet. And I will be offering courses on Reiki as well. I am a level 3 Reiki master, so I'll be offering a level 1, level 2, and level 3 Reiki course. But it takes time to put a class together and make sure that it's good quality with good quality materials, and that's important. So I will say use good quality cards, good quality materials, and all of that good stuff. So I really do. I'm trying to make sure that I've covered everything I want to cover. I've talked about ethics, reading for groups. Oh, one of the things I did want to talk about reading for groups. There's another area of debate in terms of whether or not you should cleanse your cards between readings. Let me tell you my perspective on that. And again, this is my opinion. If your experience is different, by all means, you follow your own intuition. I do find it personally useful to cleanse the cards between readings. The idea behind doing that, or resting your cards and using a different deck, which is sometimes what I will do, if I kind of have a head count for how many people are going to be there, I may bring different decks, and then I'll just select the deck that I feel goes with the person that I'm reading for at the moment. If I feel like the same deck needs to be used again, I will cleanse the deck between the readings. And I do that by passing the deck through the smoke of the incense, or by spritzing it with a hydrosol of rosemary. Just a light spritzing of the cards, kind of fan them out, spritz it slightly, kind of let it dry and rest. I'm careful about that. I don't usually do that. I usually use the smoke because I don't want to warp the cards or ruin the cards in any way by getting them wet. But I will spritz the area and kind of cleanse it with a rosemary hydrosol or sage rosemary hydrosol. And I do that because, to me, when you do a reading, you have connected energetically yourself and that person to those cards for that time. When you do not rest the cards, there is the possibility that those cards could be retaining energy from the previous reading, which can then influence or impact the reading that you're currently doing. So that is the reason why I really prefer to rest the cards for 24 hours between a read. I don't like to use the same deck within 24 hours for different querents. But if I am going to use the same deck, if I feel called to it, that same deck for some reason, either the artwork is going to connect with this person or whatever reason Spirit decides I need to use that deck, I will cleanse it by passing it a few times through the smoke. Usually I do it 9 times. I will pass it, deck up, 1, 2, 3, turn the deck over, 1, 2, 3, I shuffle, and then 1, 2, 3. And then, that way it's been passed through the smoke 9 times. And that to me is symbolic of the maiden, the mother, and the crone each cleansing the energy out of that for me and making that deck ready to go. If I'm reading for a man, then I see it as the inseminator, the father, and the sage clearing that for me. So that is my thinking. That's my perspective. It's absolutely not anything anyone has to follow. I am not going to be, telling you need to do this. I'm not here to preach. I'm here to share my experiences and hope that my experiences resonate with some of you and give you a little bit of help in building some sort of business. And there are some people that will never be comfortable reading tarot for others, that they prefer to read only for themselves, and they prefer to get their readings from other people. They like the tarot cards, they like the energy of looking at the cards, they don't mind reading for friends, but they don't want a business out of it, and that is 100% okay. There are some people that don't mind pulling cards for others but don't want to read for themselves ever, and will seek out the services of someone else, and that is also okay. I'm not here to preach to anybody. If you are not comfortable starting a tarot business, don't. But at least understand how tarot business works and how any business works, really. The principles are the same. The only difference is that we're connecting to spirit. We're offering a spiritual guidance to these people that you don't maybe get from other services. To me, it's very akin to a counseling business. I mean, I'm not a licensed counselor. I don't offer, personal advice in terms of counseling one-on-one. I'm offering spiritual services to someone. I'm offering spiritual guidance. I am an ordained minister. That's well within my scope of practice as an ordained minister to provide spiritual guidance, and so that's what I do. It's based on what I'm told is the energy of what's going on within their lives. And so I have no problem with running a business of that nature. And in fact, it's really more my passion than speech pathology. I enjoy speech pathology. I think communication is vitally important. And I think that not having effective communication skills isolates you from the rest of the world. And I think right now, when we are already feeling isolated, those with speech impairments and language barriers, language impediments, such as auditory processing or specific language impairment, or just understanding and utilizing language, it makes you feel even that much more isolated. So to me, it only amps up the need for that kind of spiritual guidance, doesn't it? So it's communication either way. It's funny how my life revolves around communication, because I do love to talk, obviously. That's why I have a podcast and 2 YouTube channels. But I do want to tell you all that I have appreciated having this chat with you all. I hope that you've gained some sort of insight. I wish there was a way for you guys to leave comments, because I would love to engage. So if you are interested in engaging in a top conversation on this topic, please visit my Purple Mystic page on Facebook and let's talk. I absolutely love to get discussion going about the podcast, and I love a healthy debate. Debate, not arguments, and respectful always. So please jump in and give your opinions. I like differing opinions. I think we gain knowledge from one another, and we gain perspective and grounding when we share our views and our ideas. And since we're all sort of stuck in or having to mask our faces up, let's take those masks off for just a little bit virtually, and let's have a frank discussion. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Purple Mystic. And again, I hope to have some new episodes coming up for you within the next couple of days and weeks. Some really exciting guests, and I hope that you'll stay tuned. Thank you so much, and don't forget to subscribe. Blessed be.